Broadcasting from the Any Hour Services podcast studios, I'm your host, Mike Wilson. And on this episode of In the House, we're going to be talking about what you can do before you call a technician out if your furnace goes out, and just how to avoid that whole situation. Let's go.
This is so much better.
Everyone dances.
Yeah.
If that song had been playing in your head all those times, you guys would have been, dancing along with.
Maybe.
Well,
Kevin, you would have.
I mean, maybe.
you swayed a little bit. Like it's easy to
I have a
this is
natural
fun.
swagger, I like to call it. And so, yeah, you put some tunes on, some tunage, and yeah, I'll do a little head bob.
Okay. Put on some tunage. In the House is a podcast about the major systems in the house. Electrical, plumbing, heating, and air conditioning. Each week I'm joined by a panel of experts. We pick a topic and we discuss it in depth. At what number episode do you think I'm going to be able to stop saying that? Because you always told me to be like, oh, you're going to be picking up new listeners. And how long do I do that? Because we still pick up new listeners. We still don't have very many of them. Tell your friends.
I was going to say, how many, what are you up to now? 10? 15?
Well, I don't know how many listeners or do they tell us how many? They don't even tell us how many subscribers we have. Podcast analytics are horrible, but we can see how many downloads we've got. And we're averaging about 150 a week or per episode or something like that, which is pretty good. Most of the people are here at Any Hour. So we're still trying to branch the family out and get the word out about the show. But
Kathy's one.
I don't think she is. You give her way too much credit.
She watches your episodes and then you get in trouble for what you said. Remember that one? You were like,
oh, but I had to show her that one for some reason.
Then you getting in trouble was your fault.
Oh, yeah, I didn't say it wasn't my fault.
You were like, babe, look at this. This is hilarious.
One thing I've learned.
You're so bad.
One thing I've learned is if I'm going to get in trouble, it's going to be me. Trust me.
All right. Well, that works. I've got Kevin and Richard here with us today. They're managers over the HVAC service and install departments, Any Hour Services. Are you guys both? I know, Kevin, you are outdoorsy because you did your little Alaska trip. Was it fishing or hunting or both?
Fishing.
Mm-hmm. And I've seen you, Richard, on one of our Zoom meetings with your AR.
Hey, outdoorsy and militant tendencies.
Okay.
There's a difference.
Do you consider yourself a militia member or outdoorsy?
Definitely outdoors.
Outdoorsy? Okay. Cool. Fishing or hunting, which do you prefer?
Hunting.
Hunting?
I do more fishing.
You do more fishing.
I like them both.
Got it. Well, because I remember sometimes when we do our Yuba Lake trips, you'd be out there fishing. Mm-hmm. What do you call a fish with two knees?
Ooh.
I might have to slap you after this one.
I got nothing.
A toonie fish.
Where do you get these?
Don't worry about where I get them. You just keep reacting.
What is it? Laffy Taffies? What is it? The candies?
Those are Laffy Taffies.
Are they?
Yeah. What's his name? Oh, my mic's loose again. Who's here on the Chasen? He, I told a joke and he's like, I got a Laffy Taffy joke, and he told, I don't even remember what it was, but Laffy Taffies. But I like dad jokes, and so I told Chasen and Jesse when they were in doing the Drains podcast, I was like, they were like, oh, is this a thing now? And so now I kind of think it is, because I'm working on these unassuming setups, I'm like, oh, you guys outdoorsy? The whole point of that question was so that I could get around to throw you off a little bit and ask you, what do you call a fish with two knees?
It worked.
Yeah. So anyway, I have a spreadsheet. Whenever I hear a joke that I like, I'll hide it away in this sheet and I'll go, refer back to it if I need to. Go ahead.
What do you call a guy with a rubber toe?
I got it. Roberto. That's great.
That's pretty good.
That is good. When does a joke become a dad joke?
When a dad tells it.
Mm-mm.
When it has a baby joke.
Mm-mm. When it becomes a parent. Sing! All right. Have we started the show yet? Are you sure? Yeah. Oh, we have. Oh, this is rolling.
You hit the button.
Oh, okay. I hit the button. That's right. What is today's show about? What did I say? Oh, before you call a technician, things you want to try before you call a technician if your furnace goes out. So I'm sure that you guys get this even more than I do, but during the winter, do you have friends and people text you being like, hey, my furnace is out. Any advice?
Mm-hmm.
A lot.
Okay, so it happens to you a lot. That's good to know. I'm not the only one. I would assume that if I knew more things like you guys do, that I'd be hit up more than I am. But I think I'm just the only person they know. And the videos that I put out make it look like I might be an expert of some sort.
You've been asking me a lot of questions over the last, it's been months now. You actually asked some good questions and pick it up pretty good. So you're doing great.
Sweet. Well, a lot of times we don't find out until after work or in the evenings that the furnace isn't working, right? Or sometimes if the temperature does like a sudden drop and we don't find out until that really, really cold night. So I'm sure that if there were some things that you could try before you called a technician, because I mean, we just did an episode a few episodes ago about common things that they'll go out. There are some simple things that you can do yourself. You might not even realize that you're causing your own furnace problems, but your furnace might not be broke. It may be one of these simple things. So let's go over some simple things that people can try that might just get them through the weekend or overnight until they can, get somebody out there to take a look at it. So what are the simple things that people need to check? If their furnace isn't working, what do they need to do?
So I think first and foremost, before you do anything else, go make sure that your thermostat is set to heat, right? Make sure it's set to heat, and then make sure your batteries are good.
Okay.
Couple of really easy things that get overlooked a lot, right? Especially in like my house, I got lots of people that can reach a thermostat now. And, there's times when they could have done whatever, but batteries is a big one also.
That makes a lot of sense. Like people, like kids being able to, or short people, that can like reach the thermostat and either intentionally mess with it or accidentally. I always thought of making sure that your thermostat is on the heat setting. I always thought of that as one of those tips that you give at the beginning of the season, but you could like stop giving it as the season went on, because it seems like one of those that you might forget about. You're like, oh, it's cold. The first cold night you go and you try and use the thermostat and it just won't get hot. Maybe it didn't get switched over, but do you come across it a lot even during the season?
Not so much in the season. Once they switch it over, it's typically not there. But like Kevin said, the batteries could be an issue. The screen could be blank because of batteries or something like that. It's funny because I came in the office a couple weeks ago here at our place, and it was cold, and I was like, man, it's cold in here. Like 2 or 3 days later, I finally looked at the thermostat, and I realized it was still set to air conditioning. So it was never even turned to. Nice. So that's what he's doing, but that was the first of the season. So
gotcha.
Typically, once mid-season, we don't have that, but batteries is
definitely one that I'll like tell people all year round, like check that out. Especially, I mean, so many people might not even realize that their thermostat has batteries, or like if you're listening, think about like when's the last time you changed your thermostat batteries? Like until I started like looking into things, I don't think I ever changed my thermostat batteries.
It should last a long time.
So, okay, cool. So checking the thermostat, make sure it's in heat mode and that the batteries are good. What's another thing that people should check?
Make sure the power switch is on the furnace.
Okay.
And make sure that it's actually got power. It wasn't turned off for whatever reason or bumped or somebody messing with it. Just make sure the power's turned on.
That's a good point. You could have tripped a breaker, or like you mentioned, you mentioned you see a lot of switches in storage rooms where maybe the kids got in there, they're playing around, or maybe if you're using it as a storage room, maybe you accidentally bumped it and you don't realize that that's the case. So making sure that you've got power going to it.
One thing that usually, especially when people call me and they're like, "Hey, can you help me out with this over the phone?" One of the first things I ask them is there any air blowing at all? Right? Because if the air is blowing and it's just blowing cold,
the power's on.
The power's on.
Okay.
And so that solves, it's all process of elimination
Sure.
when you're doing diagnostics anyway. And so that tells me a whole bunch just right there. But then knowing where the switch is, because it might get down to where you need to actually cycle that switch off. How do you fix a computer, Mike?
You reset it.
You turn it off and you turn it back on. Every now and then, not saying that's how you would fix the furnace, but there does come a point when you might need to do that. Mm-hmm. And so anyway.
So since we're on power, I would say, because are there furnaces that don't have like an LED error code thing? There are.
Yes.
Common?
They're typically going to be an older furnace.
An older one.
Yeah.
So most furnaces nowadays.
Yeah.
They're going to have, so when if your furnace isn't working, maybe the first thing go down, check and see if the power's on. If the power is on, before you start messing with other stuff, and get to the point where we're resetting the furnace, check and see if there's an error code, because if you do try a bunch of things or the handful of things that we're going to give you and that doesn't fix it, maybe resetting the furnace erases the error code. So it'd be a nice chance to record it. So look, there's usually a viewing window on the door. And if you look through that window, it usually is made so that it lines up with that LED. And if it's blinking red and any kind of combination of short blinks, long blinks, or just straight blinks, like record whatever you're seeing, because it'll usually do a series of blinks and then it will stop for a little bit. And it's just a repeating error code that happens there. Are there any that have like a number readout? There are. Okay, cool. That makes it easier.
You get like an H8 or something like that, or an E22. Yeah, there's definitely those. Those are the ones you're going to see are little higher end furnaces.
Yeah, gotcha.
A little pro tip for you. Always check the error code before you mess with the power switch. Can't tell you how many times I've gotten there, I've reset it, and I've realized, crap, what was the code? And now it works perfectly. It's like, what was the code that would help me eliminate? Yep. Always check the error code before you mess with that power switch.
Okay. What are some other things that people can try? We've got, check the power, record the error code. You talked about the thermostat, making sure it's in the heat setting, and batteries. What else?
I definitely would get down, go replace the filter, go check it anyway.
Okay.
That's one of those things that it's easy to forget about. And sometimes a reminder is, hey, things quit working for a little bit.
Yep.
And so in that scenario, depending on what's been affected, you might replace the filter. And like I said, need to cycle it off, turn it back on, and see what happens. It might just fire right back up. It might not though, but it might.
Well, airflow is like the most important thing when it comes to like your system, right? Because you're creating all of that heat, and it's got to be able to distribute it throughout the house. Otherwise, if that heat just sits there, all of the safety switches that are built into that furnace, things start overheating, things start tripping off, and the furnace is trying to go into self-preservation mode to make sure that it's not dumping gas, fire, like all kinds of things into the house, when in reality, like, it's not able to move enough air because of that filter. So checking the filter.
A lot of times that, like, talking about that airflow and stuff like that, and we get these calls all the time, my furnace is blowing air, but it seems cold. A lot of furnaces have that as a safety feature, and that's just kind of alerting the homeowner, hey, there's a problem here. So we get there and it's in like a kind of a safety mode.
Oh, so if the furnace is not working, it'll still turn the blower on, just to like blow cold air.
So like we talked about that flame sensor in that previous episode a couple weeks ago. Talks about, the flame sensor turns on and off. Eventually it will flash a code. It'll probably be something like ignition failure, but the blower motor will run, and it's kind of alerting. It's kind of like when you get sick, you get a cough. Kind of a little bit different, but alerting you, hey, there's a problem. It's the same thing with that blower motor.
That's a good idea. I'm glad they thought of
that.
Speaking of airflow, I usually will tell people to, go around, make sure the vents are open in the house. Because, the same way, it doesn't matter what's restricting the airflow. If the airflow is being restricted on either end, like either the return or the supply, you're going to have a similar effect, because a lot of people don't realize that air has mass and it's got to be able to, like, there's a reason that there are the registers throughout the house, because you've got to move a certain volume of air out and bring that back in order for it to work properly. And a lot of people they'll shut vents because they think they're saving energy, or they've got rooms that they don't use. I've found in my house the vents are on the floor, and the older they get, it seems like the easier they the kids could just be running across the floor and it seems like it would vibrate shut, or my kids like they'll just get hot or cold and they're like, oh, I'll just control it here with the vent. And you were telling us that in the summer, is it the summer that your wife will like?
Yeah. When it's blowing cold air, the AC, she gets cold easy. So she'll go around and cover vents.
Close all the vents instead of adjusting the thermostat.
And she'll bury them with stuff. It's fun.
That's a good.
On your returns on your house, Mike, are they blocked?
On my return airs?
Yeah.
No, I don't have furniture up against. I might have, interestingly enough, one of them, it's in the front room and there's a dining table, so there's nothing blocking it. And then There is a return air. I don't know why they put it here, but a return air in the boys' room, and the door opens up to the return air. So if they leave the door all the way open, there's no louvers in the door, and so that could block the return air. But there's a little bit of a gap underneath it. But I try and it won't stay open unless they block it open, and they, being teenagers, a little door shut. But that particular return air, it goes down into the crawl space, and it's like they hobbled it together. I'm pretty sure that it is just pulling, like that there's a big gap into the crawl space at that return air, and it's just sucking that fine dust that's in the crawl space into it. Because I swear, I had the ducts replaced in the house, and I still have to replace the filter so often. And when we replaced the ductwork once, the return air was working so good that it would actually hold the door open. It doesn't do that anymore. And I think what happens is it popped a seal or something on whatever they have in that particular part of the return air. Why were you asking if my return airs are blocked?
A couple minutes later, because that's when he talked about closing vents. We got to make sure the returns aren't blocked as well, because
good point.
That's where you try to breathe through a straw or something like that. You pinch it off, it's not going to have any airflow. And the same thing with the returns, that could cause a problem. So make sure your returns aren't blocked. You didn't get a new piece of furniture, or somebody put a bag or something in front of it. Make sure the return airs aren't blocked as well.
And it always seems like when new houses are built, they always put the return airs in the place where whoever the new homeowner is going to want to put some piece of furniture or a bookshelf or something. And so the homeowner doesn't want to leave a 3-inch gap off the wall so that it can pull air in or whatever, or move it around. But I don't know. Why do they do that?
The people that designed the house, or that put the return air in originally. Mm-hmm. Those are idiots. I'll be honest.
Easy.
When they design houses, this is the one thing that I've learned. Engineers do not plan on moving large quantities of air, at least not very well. And so when you're going around beams and headers and floor joists flipping different directions, and you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Sometimes they go where they can go. Mm-hmm. And there's times where you don't got much choice in the matter. Now, when a lot of these houses, when they're done, and I'll call them cookie cutter houses, a lot of them are done in a way to where, you can get the returns in the ideal places. My house, I did my own house. Most of my returns are somewhere in the hallway where I'm not even going to be tempted to put any furniture, and it's just all design of the actual construction of the building.
Gotcha. All right. So check the power, make sure you don't have an error code. If you do, write it down, change the filter, open the vents throughout the house, make sure the exhaust vents are not exhaust vents. The return airs aren't blocked. We talked about thermostat, check the batteries and heat things. What else? Before we get to the point where we reset the furnace, because in my mind, let's give them a handful of things they can do, and then once you do those things, reset the furnace, see if that remedied it. This one, I can see you guys puzzled.
Yeah, I'm trying to think what else. I mean, those are kind of the main things. A lot of it's just making sure those things are ready to go, and then after that, it's all internal inside the furnace. It's almost a point where you do reset it.
Yeah, my brain, I'm thinking technician-wise, you know what I mean? It's I know where I'm going to go the next, but it's hard to think of where your typical homeowner would be comfortable going.
I'm going to blow your minds.
Oh, yes.
Well, and when I say it, you're going to be like, oh, yeah, duh.
Can't wait.
I'm listening.
Is this one of those things?
Maybe not.
Dad jokes coming.
Am I setting you up for a punchline?
Yeah, right.
But I'm ching. No, the one that I would tell people, and it's not every single time, but I'll tell them to go and if you can, check the exhaust, just because here in Utah we'll get a big snowstorm that comes through, and a lot of high efficiency units. It seems like a lot of them, they vent out the side of the house, and if it happens to vent low enough to the ground and the snow piles up and covers the exhaust, then you're choking the exhaust off. Or again, if it's at the beginning of the season, if you can see into the exhaust, looking for a nest or something like that you can go and check. So
yeah, there's several things that can happen with your exhaust pipes for sure. The metal ones
You
up
could
on the
forget
roof.
about them.
Yeah.
Golf
totally.
balls in there.
Like
Golf
you guys
balls.
forgot about them.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say I forgot.
You did. You were like, I can't think of anything else.
Maybe it was one I didn't think was worth mentioning.
So should we tell them to not even worry about it?
No,
I think it's a good
it's
idea.
totally worth. It's
So
totally
it's worth mentioning.
totally worth mentioning.
Oh, so you just forgot.
Sure. We'll go with sure.
Whatever. Okay, what were you going to say?
I don't
Golf
remember.
balls.
I don't remember now. He said golf balls.
I was just making fun of Kevin.
Seems we both are doing that too much. Sorry, Kevin.
No, I was going to say sometimes your metal flues coming out the roof.
Mm-hmm.
Not sure how it happens, but man, how many of you seen that get crushed?
Yeah, I don't know how that is.
They get smashed.
Really?
Yeah, I've seen them get smashed down to where stuff's just not able to get out of them.
I wonder
very
if
good.
people climb up on the roof and while they're on the roof, they just like use that to hold them up and they end up smashing it down.
You know, I wouldn't surprise me if people get up there and kind of like prop themselves on it. You know what I
I
mean?
had last winter, I had a homeowner had solar panel installed, and long story short, they took the solar, their little diagrams and shoved it down the exhaust pipe and left it there, and that's what stopped the furnace from working. Was the manual of their install manuals for the solar panels
Wow.
were in my exhaust pipe.
Yeah, that's frustrating.
Interesting. I was thinking, I get on my roof several times a year to like clean the gutters out and to like blow the leaves off and stuff like that. But I mean, I know not to like mess with, and my pitch is like such that like I don't have to anchor onto something to try and hold on. But I always thought that, man, hiccups. I always thought that was, because I always leave that one out of my suggestion list. I always think like, oh, the ones that are low to the ground, like look at those if you can like see them. I never thought that
Well,
like they just get crushed up on the roof.
You could get some people out there looking around for their stuff coming out the side when that's all they've got is coming up the roof.
yeah.
You know, but I mean, legit, I've seen it a whole bunch of times.
Yeah, it's amazing how much they get smashed. I don't know how they do, but they do.
Okay. So this is where I get to the last one, the resetting the furnace that we've alluded to, several times. So one, go down, make sure you got power, check for an error code,
Write the error code down.
write the error code down
Or film
as
it.
well, or film it with your camera. If you don't know what to write down, very good. All great adds to the thing.
Panel of experts.
That's why we have you here. Let's see. Change the filter, open the vents around the house, make sure the return airs aren't blocked, check the exhaust, make sure the thermostat is in heat mode, it has batteries. After you've done those basic things, and that's really the basic things that I like feel comfortable texting to somebody like, hey, try these things. And then after you do those things, then I say reset the furnace, and that's, shutting the power off and then turning it back on. Cause like you mentioned, it's a computer, and you were like, how do you fix a computer? And the joke is like, you're not actually fixing anything. When you reset it, all you're doing is you're clearing the error codes or the messages that have kind of like piled up and bogged the thing down. And so you're giving it a fresh chance to go through the ignition sequence. If you changed the filter and it was that, now it's got the right amount of air coming through, and it's able to check those basic things. And sometimes those things actually will resolve the issue that you were having. And so I don't know.
One other thing that I think might be worth mentioning is...
let me type this down. Go ahead.
Oh, intense. Now I'm nervous.
If it's not worth it, I'm gonna be so disappointed.
One of the other things that I think might be worth mentioning is ask yourself, did I pay my gas bill this month? I've had that be a service call.
Really?
Is my propane tank full? Did I get it filled this year?
That actually crossed my mind earlier.
Yeah.
Does it have gas?
Yeah, no, seriously, I've had that happen multiple times. It's not like the most common thing, but if you're sitting there and you're like, wait, did I set that up right, or did I actually pay this, or did I? If you're in a newer house, did I get that switched over into my name? You know what I mean?
Yeah. So go out to your gas meter and see if there's a little padlock on it.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Is there anything else that you can think of that's super simple like that people could try?
No.
The only other thing that's like not as simple as these things, that's really kind of the only basic thing would be if you can see that your furnace is coming on and then going off quickly and it's cycling like that, if you've got an emergency situation and you're just trying to get the heat back on, you could try, cleaning the flame sensor to see if that like gets things back on. But beyond that, you don't really want to be, especially if you don't know what you're doing, like be poking around and try and like mess with things, because it can really put the technician that comes out there at a disadvantage when he's trying to diagnose and troubleshoot, because he might find something that you did wrong and think like, oh, okay, we found the situation, and it just prolongs the resolution of the thing. So anyway, I don't know.
What I do now, if people call me on the phone, I just say, hey, our guy Mike has made some really awesome videos. You should just go watch those videos. They'll probably help you fix it.
I know you're mocking me.
I'm not.
But
I'm
okay, good.
Serious.
Well, now actually, because we made this video yesterday, we went over, 5 things to try before you call a technician. And honestly, I did it partly for me as well, because I get text messages throughout the winter as well saying like, hey, and most people when they call me or when they text me, I'm realizing it's not necessarily for technical advice as much as they're trying to see if I can like maneuver the schedule or something and get somebody out there, be like, hey, you got a technician? Be like, well, yeah, we got technicians, but like everybody in the state of Utah is having issues because it's the first cold night. And so you try these 5 things. So now I'll be able to like give you that link and be like, hey, here are the first things you try.
There you go.
Boom.
You don't even have to talk to people hardly.
I try not to.
So you just send them a YouTube link. Bam.
Yep. That's what I try. And that's the show. You got anything to add to this one, Austin? You haven't. You've been quiet.
So this episode's going live at the beginning of the year. Mm-hmm. So hopefully everybody had a really good New Year's.
Do you guys do resolutions?
Yes.
I hadn't even thought about it.
But I don't tell anybody.
It's like
a wish.
It's
if you
January
tell someone,
5th. What do you mean you haven't like thought about it?
No.
If you tell someone they don't come true, it's like a birthday wish.
Is it?
For me, they are.
I had a resolution last year and like to go to the gym, and I went to the gym like January 2nd. So I crushed that resolution out. I was done.
Nice.
So I don't know why everyone else struggled with it.
Well, I mean, we do have our, our annual fat loss competition going on. Anyway, thanks for listening. I hope you found this episode helpful. We'll be back next Tuesday with a new episode of In the House. If you'd like to know more about Any Hour Services, visit anyhourservices.com. I've been your host, Mike Wilson, and you've been listening to In the House. See ya.